Fellow nerds, we are talking Secret Invasion Episode 5 Harvest, which wasn't what I thought it was going to be when I first heard the title. I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be the scene we saw with all of like Skrulls in those cubes. I thought they were going to like the harvest was going to be them powering up and like attacking the earth or something.
From what I could gather, it had a double meaning. First off, it was obviously, oh, sorry, we should put this out there in case you were somehow unaware by this point. Full spoilers. We will literally be spoiling the entire episode 5 of Secret Invasion. So if you have not seen it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning. But anyway, I assumed what it was referring to was on the surface, they're talking about the harvest genes, the group of genes from the DNA that they had gathered from the Avengers. But I thought it was also a way of speaking about the literal harvest of fruits and vegetables that they had grown on New Skrullos. I assumed that it was kind of referring to the two of them because potentially, assuming that Gravik gets his own way, he's going to have the president bomb New Skrullos.
And we definitely think that's going to happen. You know, two things that I really liked about this episode after his failed attempt at killing the president last episode, some of the Skrulls turned on him a bit. I don't think Skrull Rhodey has as much faith in Gravik as he did before, and I'm kind of happy that they did that because we talked about it last week. You know, he's been having this I'm basically your leader, I'm going to do all this, I'm going to do all this, and he's starting to fail in some of his things. But I also like the way he pivoted after that all went down. And, you know, he was like, hey, listen, obviously they know Skrulls were involved. Tell them that they're siding with the Russians and that that's where they're staying. You know, we're staying at this site and he should bomb it or have an attack. And I was like, that's a good way to pivot. You know, something goes wrong. He's not like stuck in his ways and saying, okay, well, our plan's moving forward exactly as it was. He knew the best route to take with his recent failure. And I like when they do stuff like that because it's not, you know, he's a
Best
smart guy.
in very heavy quotes.
Yes.
Yeah, so okay, I will agree with you to a point. That yeah, I guess it was nice that he was able to have a plan B, that he was able to figure out what to do when his original plan didn't go the way that he had originally planned. Um, I will say though that I noticed something that was a little weird to me, and this isn't the first time that we've seen this in a Disney Plus show. The weird escalation of villainy. That's just what I'm calling it because I don't know what else to refer to this. I don't really know what else to call this, but we saw it happen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where like for a while you could totally understand where the Flag Smashers are coming from. It's like, oh yeah, I get them, I understand. They're just trying to make a way for themselves, and they're trying to figure out, hey, we were displaced because of the blip. Now we don't have homes or food, and we need to find something to do. And then all of a sudden, towards the what was it like the final couple of episodes, all of a sudden it's, yeah, we're blowing up civilians and we're totally okay with it because ha 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 ha, mustache twirl, we're evil now. And it's like, that was a weird escalation. Like they went from, hey, we're doing this for a reason. Yeah, maybe our methods aren't exactly great, but they weren't killing civilians. And then all of a sudden they totally ramped it up. The same thing kind of happened in WandaVision. If you remember, the leader of Sword kind of went from, yeah, I'm a bit of a, not a great guy in charge of this government organization to full on, I'm gonna, kill children, mustache twirling, evil. And it's like, well, that was a really weird escalation. Like he went from kind of an antagonist to I'm supposed to be the bad guy. And it was like I didn't fully understand it. And they kind of did that this time around too, where at first I understood Gravik. Like I get it. I get why they were upset. They were promised a homeworld. Nick and Captain Marvel had told them, yeah, we're gonna work hard. You do this for us, you help us out, and we'll help you out in return. And I can understand why these younger Skrulls not having an identity, not having, which is like a major theme in this show, the whole shifting of faces and shape shifting and whatnot, they don't really feel like they have their own place. That's why they've created new Skrulls. Is like we don't really know our home world, so this is the closest that we can get to it. But now he went from we want what was owed to us to, yeah, I'm willing to start literal World War III. And I'm like,
Well,
that's a bit
see,
extreme.
see, I have there, and they haven't done a good job of saying if this is the route they go, with him taking in the super soldier or the super scroll serum, we'll call it, with extremists and the group DNA, it could be affecting him mentally too, because we kind of saw that in Iron Man 3, that it could have a mental effect on the people who take it, but they haven't shown it. So, but I wonder if that is partially to do with why he went from, we want our own world
Hey,
to, we're
and
going to destroy every human
and if
and
that's
get
the
our way.
case, cool. Then at least tell me in one of these upcoming episodes, please make that clear because otherwise, like I said, I'm just chalking it up to they're doing it again because this isn't the first time.
No, no,
That
and I
and
understand that. I
I get
think,
worried with Marvel TV shows because I love what Marvel's able to come up with. They are nowhere near as bad as the schlock that we get from Sony or Warner DC. And so, I expect more. And when I saw the budget for this show, I was like, I my expectations were a little high. And you're kind of, mm, you know?
no, no, and I get it. One of the things they need to, or they should have been, if that's the route they're going to go, like the extremist is kind of messing with him mentally a little bit, they should have shown it a little more. It's almost like
Yes.
the ending of Game of Thrones, where Khaleesi was always free the slaves, get these people out. I'm not going to hurt the innocents. And then all of a sudden she went full, let's blow up the entire kingdom and kill
Hmm.
everybody because I'm mad at one lady. It didn't make sense. So I wish they would have shown a little more, if that's the route they're going, him a little more.
Right,
But,
right.
while you're talking about the budget, yeah, once I saw the budget, I was like, okay, they're really going to do Secret Wars almost like the comic because, for those of you who have read the comic or those of you who have watched our back issue breakdowns for the first three, I mean, all heck is breaking loose in these comics. Super entire ship of super scrolls lands in New York and they're fighting the Young Avengers and the Initiative. We find out that Yellow Jacket, Hank Pym, was a Skrull. We find out Tony Stark was a Skrull and he was Total
Hmm.
Recall undercover. He didn't know he was a Skrull, but he had plans. I mean, Spider Woman is
That would
Queen
have been cool.
Vernaki. There was so much going on, and when you see the budget, you're like, okay, I know they can't do the comic. That's too nuts, but they're nowhere near.
A
I mean, the
few of the things they could have weaved in. I mean, I
exactly.
get that Sam Jackson's expensive, and it's worth it to a point because he's an excellent actor. But come on.
Well, no, they really. I mean, we've talked about it a bunch. Dialogue, the acting has all
Hmm.
been good. Unfortunately, the plot with the scrolls has been less than attention grabbing.
Yeah. And I will say also something that kind of jumped out at me in the beginning of this episode is, and I don't know if they filmed some of this on the volume or like, how it's done, but a lot of the shots seemed pretty close up and with like only just like the bare minimum of people in the shot. Like they were trying to take up as much screen space as possible so you don't notice how little they've got going on like in the background or like it seemed like, again, going back to this budget, it seems like it could have been used better. Now, I'm not a director, I'm not a writer, producer, whatever. Maybe there's something behind the scenes that I'm just not aware of, but I just expected more. I know I don't want to keep harping on that, but I feel like with as much as this cost, where it was almost like the level of a movie production, and you know, this is what we're getting so far. When I know Marvel can do better, I've seen them do better.
And honestly, if you're going to take the name of a very successful comic,
Yeah.
huge, crossover event for Marvel
Hmm.
Comics, you really should do a better job with the story. This could have been called anything else. It could have been called, I don't even know, but they're not doing a great
Scroll
job with it. Now
Wars.
this, yeah, Scroll Homeworld, anything besides Secret Invasion, because when you think of Secret Invasions, it's all these huge twists, all these huge reveals, and we've gotten none of that. And
Yeah.
it's sad because I was really looking forward to this show. I, much like Dave, thought this was going to be the Andor of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer was great. It set a nice vibe. I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. They're going with this. They have.
Now, so far, I've been a negative Nancy, but I don't want all of you out there to think that I didn't like this episode because, as I told Keith and Dave, I actually liked this week's episode. I thought it was pretty good overall. I've got my nitpicks, but it wouldn't be an honest review if I didn't, right? If I didn't point out the things that I thought were a little dumb. But I will say, in my opinion, the standout character for this episode was Sonya Falsworth, played by Olivia Colman. Such an excellent job. I mean, just the straight face sort of oh hello Skrulls, and just the amazing, like, so stoic, so just every line that she delivered, every movement. I mean, outstanding. I think she even outshone Sam Jackson in this episode.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think she did a great job, and she was great in that torture scene when she was trying to get the
Yes.
Skrull to admit.
I
She
agree.
was like smiling and just walking around. Oh, let's do this, and
Mhm.
she knew exactly what was going to happen. They've done a great job of setting her up to always be 3 steps ahead of everybody else. A lot like
Yes.
Fury has been in the MCU, and it's been nice because watching this episode,
I was expecting
almost
more of that.
yeah, well, that too. But it's almost looking like this might be a passing of the torch from Nick Fury to Sonya Falsworth as sort of the head of the, spy community or something. Or it could just they're going
Mhm.
to work together or have, other things going on. But they've done a good job with their characters, so I hope she continues on in the MCU in some capacity because it's been a joy watching her, do her thing on the screen.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, but pretty much so it seemed like she drove most of what was going on in this episode, like just watching her sort of infiltrate things. The only little trip up that she had, and I thought it was a bit of a contradiction compared to what we've seen from her so far, but maybe you can help me understand it. But when Nick reveals to her that Rhodey is a Skrull after, they have their conversation. So he's like, well, why did England back this plan? And she was like, well, yeah, I mean, we have to. Of course, we're going to back, Rhodey said such and such. And he goes, you're going to trust Rhodey? He's a Skrull, right? And she goes, he is? And I'm just like, well, that's odd because, like, she was able to pretty much figure out all these other people who were secret Skrulls, but somehow she didn't gather that Rhodey was.
Well,
And
Rhodey
to
is
me,
in the
it
U.S.
felt like a contradiction.
To me, it felt like she was working within her own organization to find Skrulls. Rhodey
Mhm.
obviously was with the U.S. government. So either one of two things happened. She was just trying to clean out her own house and make
Mhm.
sure everything was good there and wasn't focusing on other areas. Or she knew. She wasn't going to admit to Nick Fury that she knew.
That would make sense. Just another, like, I've got my, chess piece, like, 4 moves ahead of you, and I'm not going to reveal what my overall plan to Nick or whatever.
Yeah.
I could see that. That might make some sense. Thank you. I knew that you would be able to silver lining that and help me because I'm like, that felt, it almost felt like it was directed by 2 different people, that like they weren't communicating with each other. Now, I also I really liked the scene where he snuck into Finland. And I loved getting to see that cameo from, what's his name, from Black Widow.
Yeah. Oh, I can't think of his name, but yeah.
Yeah.
He was great in that. Like,
He was.
You seem a little cranky. Why don't you get a nap?
Okay, cool. So you're welcome, I guess. But I really liked the whole costume thing, and I loved seeing seeing that mask again. That was really neat. I'm glad that it wasn't just like a one-off thing that we saw in one movie, that they're actually like, this is tech that they have. It's great.
I liked when she was like 50 billion and it only does your face. And even though I like the dialogue between, I still miss the brotherly convo between Talos and Nick
Yeah,
Fury.
I do too.
I'm
I
gonna
do
miss
too.
that because, but yeah, it was. They did a lot of good things in this episode, and while
Hmm.
watching it, I did enjoy it. I wasn't like this whole series. While I'm watching it, I'm like, it's good. It's not great. It's good, but then as I
By the
rewatch it
way,
and I'm taking my notes, I'm always like,
yeah, I was doing the same thing. There was like a couple things where I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, um, okay, so the since we're kind of in that area of the episode, the scene where he was talking to Gaia and sort of explaining, how Talos, gave his life and it was a sacrifice, and she still seemed upset about it and everything. Okay, it was a good scene up until the police light suddenly appeared in the window, and I'm sorry. I'm just like, and he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta get out of here." And it's like, really? This is supposed to be like your secret compound. And, oh man, I gotta run. They're gonna these mystery lights suddenly appear, and I'm like, that was a little cheesy. That was a little Saturday Night Live sketch.
it, yeah, he's in a safe house, yet the cops know exactly where to find him.
Hmm.
You're not wrong. I do like the fact that, Gaia wasn't still, she's sad her father has passed away, but she still understands. He thought they should just wear their human faces and stay on Earth and be good,
Hmm.
good little scrolls for the humans. And all of the younger generation of Skrulls are very much like, this is BS.
Yeah.
We were promised a homeworld, we need it. And I
Oh yeah.
like that that's been their motivation for why they're doing this for the most part.
Right.
It
And I
makes
I can
sense.
agree with that. That does make sense. And like I said in the very beginning when we were reviewing the earlier episodes, the one thing that I was looking most for was a reason why. I wanted to know what the driving factor was for Secret Invasion because the comic, shameless plug that you can watch Keith breakdown in our back issue breakdown on YouTube Shorts and possibly on TikTok too, maybe I don't know.
It is
Um,
on TikTok.
oh, sweet, great. I haven't checked. Excellent. But yeah, you can watch Keith's back issue breakdown of Secret Invasion, the comic, right now.
Issues 1 through 3. 4 will be
Issues one
dropping
through three,
tomorrow.
right?
And
Absolutely.
then 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopefully the next 4 days after that, but we'll see. I
Hmm.
definitely want to get them done before the season finale next week. And with that being said, I really hope watching this, I've been trying very much since I've been putting these back issue breakdowns together,
Hmm.
trying to pull back what I should expect from this show. Because there's no
I
way
guess you kind of
it's
have
going
to
to
do
live
that.
up to the comic. And it can't do this, it can't do that. It would cost $1 billion to do all the stuff I would like
Yeah.
to see in the show. So I understand they can't do that. But I really hope this is not the end of the secret invasion. Basically, at the end of this, maybe they stop Gravik and they stopped his plan, but there's still disgruntled Skrulls out there,
Oh yeah.
and they still want to find a homeworld. So I hope they pop up here and there. Another season of Secret Invasion, maybe on the highly anticipated The Marvels movie coming out in November. I really hope that this is not the end of it. I hope it's not okay. Well, they stopped Gravik, so we're all good. And I think the showing that not everyone was fully behind Gravik in this, and we're kind of
Hmm.
upset with how he's running it, is them showing us that's how it's going to be. There's going to be a continuation of until the Skrulls get their homeworld, and then it's devoured by Galactus. They're not going to be just sit idly by and just wait their turn. They're going to be active, trying to either take over Earth or get another planet and maybe move somebody else out. I'm looking forward to it because I really want to see Super Skrulls. I want to see Klurt. Of course, we can't see him till the Fantastic Four, but there's so much potential with this, and I even think that they maybe slightly rushed this out. Not in the sense
Oh, yeah.
that they didn't take their time writing and everything, but we didn't need this
Hmm.
now.
Well, this
We could
this
have
was
waited.
this was filmed and produced under the old model, wasn't it? Where they're trying to like pump out as many Marvel and Star Wars shows as possible.
It is. It's under the Bob Chapek regime where
Right.
we have to have content every week to keep people on Disney Plus, and keep cranking it out no matter what the quality is. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, unfortunately.
That makes sense. I would like to talk about two more scenes in particular.
We can talk about as many scenes as you want, sir.
So,
Okay, well, good night, everybody. Thanks.
And this is going to be an awesome scene that I loved, and a scene that I thought was kind of laughably dumb. All right. So
Which one are you going to start with? Do the
good
laughably dumb. Okay, the good one.
oh,
Okay.
yeah. Well, yeah. I'll do the nice scene first. I'll be nice first. I know that everybody here. I know you're actually here for the hate and the vitriol, but I'm going to be nice first. But I really loved. I loved the scene where Gaia was, putting her father to rest. I loved the little history lesson. I loved that she admitted, I don't know the prayer, and I loved when it was asked, oh, did you bring an offering? It's like she kind of knew a little bit about Skrull history. She knew that what was more or less supposed to be done, and she wanted to sort of take part in her culture, which is not something she's really been able to do. And it was nice to be able to see that again, going back to what you were talking about, how this is so important to them to have their own identity and to have a home, and this is something that was promised them. They want to be able to walk around in their own skin, in their own faces, and I think this was sort of her way of doing this both for herself and for her father, to kind of give themselves just a little piece of Skrull, you know. And I
Don't
really
you
like
think they
that. I
should
thought it
have
was a
been in
beautiful
their?
scene.
It was very beautiful. I just thought they should have been in their scroll form when they did it.
I do too. But as we know, they didn't have a lot of money to work with.
Yeah, 212 million only goes so far.
Now, and I guarantee you're probably going to disagree with me for this, because I know why they did this scene. I know that this was to make all the fanboys squeal and, to make everybody like, oh my gosh, yay, they're doing the thing. But the scene after Nick Fury collects the what do you call it? The harvest juice, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. Harvest juice seems right.
Works for me,
But
yeah.
after he collects that and he goes into the mausoleum, I can understand needing to get supplies. And I loved the little the high tech spy, way of getting in, or he had to like breathe on it. Like that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was neat. But then he was like, well, gotta put on the eye patch. I'm just like, come on. Like, I know why you did it. Like, I get it. It's like, oh, he's back to Nick Fury. But it's like, he has been walking around this entire, 6 episodes without it. He had no purpose to put it back on. It, like, what does it do? Is it like for a meaning? Is it like, yeah, now I'm back to being Nick Fury? Or like, I was just like, I felt my eyes roll. I was just like, oh my God, that's so dumb.
I did love when he had to breathe into the tombstone. And when he was like, I got these all over the world. And he's
Yeah.
like, he had to breathe in to open it up. I thought that was cool. And I think him putting his patch on and the coat that he wore, I think that's like him saying it's his costume. It's his uniform. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. I didn't overly love that scene because I was focusing on they collected all this blood from the
Yep.
battle for Earth and they turned it into a little juice vial. I didn't understand that.
They didn't have enough money, Keith.
I was like, I thought for sure that we were going to see the harvest was going to be like something with a ton of blood samples and we'd see a bunch of names or something. And then it was like a little vial of aftershave.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, it's little. See, normally I just accept everything because I'm enjoying it. But little things like that, I was like,
Well, that's kind
a
of dumb.
bunch of- they're mixing all the DNA together?
Right.
That doesn't
don't
seem right.
That's not scientific. That's not. No, that's not how that works. It's probably degraded by now too.
Yes, it's been in a freaking tombstone
Right.
for how many years?
All just kind of like mixed together. It's been weathered, and they probably accidentally mixed some Thanos DNA in there.
We're getting kid Thanos.
Oh God.
It's funny because
Gravik is gonna take him like, no.
Why did
But-
I snap?
Then also in that sort of scenes, I had mixed feelings on Nick Fury's speech. On one hand, I can understand why he, for the sake of like, having felt like he couldn't accomplish things, like the feeling that he had lost, especially when he got snapped. I can understand why he would want to say, look, some things we need to do without the heroes, and we can't always count on them to save the world. But on the other hand, I'm sitting there thinking, like, yeah, you can. Like, they've done it so many times. You can totally count on them. They will totally save the world. They got this, I'm sure. You call Thor down, call any of them. Like, they can help you, Nick. It's okay.
They've got powers now. You
Right?
need someone with
There's
powers
so many
to
of
fight them. Yeah. You got Captain Marvel on a pager. Give her a ring. Yeah, call Thor.
Right?
He doesn't know where he's at. Spider-Man. Anybody could help.
Yeah. I hear this guy named Peter Parker takes his pictures. Maybe he knows how to find him.
He probably does. Wait, who's Peter Parker?
He's just some up-and-coming photographer that popped up in New York. Nobody seems to know where he came from.
Oh, nice. Well, hopefully he's doing a good job. They could have called the Black Knight, the Eternals. They had so many people to
So
call.
many choices. They've got a pretty good, close contact with the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
With the new Ironheart. Come on.
Yeah. They are.
So yeah, like I said, I've got mixed feelings on it. On one hand, I get it. I understand where he's coming from. But then, holy crap, Father Fandom is here. Dude. We have been wondering where you were. It is so good to see you, sir.
Yes, Fatherly Fandom, thanks for joining us. We've been talking about you offline, hoping everything's okay. We've missed you. We've missed your streams.
And he subscribed.
And we're happy you're alive. We're happy. Hopefully everything is going well. If you need anything, please let us know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if you're watching Secret Invasion. It's been
Talking
good.
about some of the silly stuff.
Yeah. More excited for Ahsoka, I think, at this point.
Oh yeah, very excited for Ahsoka.
Which I've been getting
After
worried
that last
about.
preview, I'm super hyped. Wow, I immediately tangented. But yeah, just to kind of like wrap all of that up. Yeah, no. I like I said, I get where Nick is coming from. I understand why he needed to make that speech. But he's wrong. He's wrong because they
No,
can help.
he
They've saved
is.
the world so many times.
Because once again, the Nick Fury in the comics, he trusts the suits, the super suits, the I won't say what
Yeah.
Billy Butcher calls them, but he knows. He doesn't say, "Hey guys, we have an issue." He goes,
Yeah,
"I need
didn't
you
he
to do
specifically
this."
create the Avengers for this reason? Wasn't he like, oh man, we need to put the Avengers together because now we know that we're not alone.
And it
You got aliens, man.
and he always knows where to put people to get the best out of what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, and he's not doing it. So it is, and yes, Fatherly Fandom. I said the exact same thing earlier. I'm a little frustrated with Secret Invasion, knowing how excellent the story was in the comics. We talked
Yep.
about it earlier. The fact that Yellow Jacket Hank Pym was a Skrull. We found out Tony Stark was like a Total Recall Skrull, where he didn't even know he was one, implanted with things to do. We got a spaceship full of super Skrulls landing in New York. The virus that took the helicarrier down, that took out Tony Stark's armor, that opened up the raft and everything. So much went on to just open up the series, and this has been a very slow burn. And while it's
Yeah.
been good, yes, there were so many amazing storylines.
No, in preparation for this show, I went ahead and I was reading the Secret Invasion storyline, and it was good. And I was sitting there wondering because one of the things leading up to this series that I was kind of concerned about was wondering how they were going to figure out how to make the Skrulls the antagonists. And it was I I like the decision that they made to a point. On one hand, I'm glad that they didn't do. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make the choice they did in the comics, where they're like, "Hey, we're going to Skrullos and we're gonna start a war because we're mad that they did a thing." And like, yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't go that route. And I'm kind of happy with the direction this is going in, where the younger Skrulls are like, "Hey, we were made a promise, and you're not living up to your end of the bargain." I don't like the way that Gravik is suddenly flipping, but as Keith pointed out earlier in our discussion, it is possible due to his Super Skrull injection, transformation, whatever he did to himself, that it could be messing with his mind. Don't know. We have yet to see.
Yeah. And fatherly fandom, they could have made this a phase in the MCU. I still hope that this is not the end
That
of
would have
Secret
been
Invasion
cool.
at the end of the show, because they can do so much more with this. And if this is all we get, it's going to be
Hmm.
very disappointing, because I had high hopes.
Yeah, you know what? If we're ready to kind of move into a bit of a theory time, uh,
Yeah, we can definitely move into a theory time.
all right, excellent. So, a bit of a what's next theory palooza for how we think this is all going to wrap up. So, I do not think that it is going to escalate to World War III. I think that we have yet to see all of the the chess pieces move around on the board. I am assuming Nick has something planned. I don't think he's just going to hand over the harvest juice without something in mind. My guess is we were kind of joking about how it's all kind of just mixed up in that little vial. It's possible that he knows that it's unstable, and he knows that Gravik is going to give it to himself, and he probably realizes that it's going to turn him into like a melting mass of, just confused DNA that's unstable and can't even put himself together anymore. And he's probably going to make some sly comment like, "Well, what'd you think was going to happen? Injecting yourself with everybody's DNA. Of course you can't keep yourself together. I knew it wasn't going to mix well with scroll cells. You didn't know that." Like I'm waiting for a line like that. I assume that is more or less how it's going to go. Um, I think it's going to get close to where they are still going to have to deal with, some tensions between NATO and Russia. Wow, seems like real life is encroaching into the MCU, but I feel like they are going to still have to deal with that, and they are still going to have to root out all of the leadership that have been Skrulls in the U.S. government. They're going to have to figure out where the real roadie is, that's for sure. And
Do
yeah,
you
so
think
there
they're going to
there's
find the real roadie in New Skrullios, where they have the rest of the humans, or do you think?
probably, probably. That's even if they can enter, because if you remember the one line that Gravik said was, it was like, "Hey, make sure," didn't he say like something about like make sure you bring iodine drops or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the high radiation. So that's even if they can go in there without immediately dying from radiation poisoning. Um, so the only other potential theory that I can see, and I don't know because end credit scenes with these are a bit hit or miss, but I feel like this series is going to end with the people who were still hardline Gravik followers that, were pro, we want our own Skrullos and we were promised this. I think one of our other villains is going to come out of the woodwork, whether it's Kang, whether it's, somebody else who we have yet to see. And I think they're going to make them an offer that they can't refuse. They're going to be like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll help you out because we know that you'll live up to your end of the bargain."
See, I think, since they mentioned Emperor Doge, who we know in the comics was the creator of the Super Scrolls, I think after his
Hmm.
plan fails, I think we're going to see someone from his group, reach out to the Scrolls on Earth and say like, "Hey, guess what? Come with us. We have a plan. We actually have perfected the Super Scroll serum. We have people, and we have a plan that isn't going to fail." And maybe they'll go with him. But I do think the disillusioned young Skrulls who still don't have a homeworld will be easily sucked into another, villain's plans, as long as he promises them what they want to hear, which they always
That's
do.
That's going to be the name of my next album, Disillusioned Young Skrulls.
Oh, I like that. I'll buy that. Well, Fatherly Fandom, they did kind of explain a little bit where she went, but not in detail. We know that from the show that they came back within 2 years of leaving with her, and then she was out and just patrolling, the cosmos, the galaxy, and I do think Fury's getting a lot of the blame on the show only because she's not around. I do hope we see in the Marvels some Skrulls, and they're not happy with her because she's off getting cats and fighting Thanos and blowing up ships and not finding them a homeworld, which she promised. It's been what, 30 years now?
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of time, and I mean, I get that, the as she put it in Endgame, there's a lot of stuff going on in the rest of the galaxy. Like, she's only one person, but we also know that she's not the only person out there helping out in the galaxy. Like, we've got the Guardians, and there's also, other groups, like other decent Ravagers that are helping out as well. So,
And we know
you know,
that the Nova Corps kind
yep.
of helps out
So
where
I think she could have
Nova,
taken a little, like, I don't know, a couple of weeks and been like, oh, hey, here's a livable planet.
yeah. Well, think about it. I mean, we know Galactus is coming at some point. His heralds always find him worlds,
Hmm.
to devour. It's not that hard finding a world that they could probably, especially with them, you know, they can live in radiation and all these other
Right,
things.
yeah.
So they just both dropped the ball. They made promises they
Hmm.
weren't, I don't think knowingly weren't going to keep, but they knew they weren't
It
going to keep
wasn't
it.
a priority for them. That's what it seems like. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah, we'll totally do it, but, it's kind of on the back burner. Like, we'll get to it when we get to it. You guys live long enough.
Then the only other thing I think we're going to see possibly next week,
Hmm.
I think we're going to see another scroll reveal. But I
You think
don't think
so?
it's going to be, I almost think it's going to be not part of the storyline for next week. I think we're going to see, you know, Sharon Carter, someone else. We may see, I had someone in mind and now I can't remember who it was. I was thinking about this today. I should have typed it out to myself. But someone we're going to see that this story isn't over and it's going to be
Hmm.
someone maybe powered up because they said they had people all over the world. We've seen them. They've had like the Prime Minister of England and people all over the place and they kind of, but no real soups. So I'm
Hmm.
hoping we get another soup reveal, but I don't, it's not going to be Miss Marvel. It's not going to be, you know, Kate Bishop. But oh, I know it could be Catherine Newton. You know, what's her name? Scott Pitt. That's what the hell? What's that man's name? I can't. It's not Scott Pym.
No, it's Scott Lang.
Scott Lang. Yes, thank you. God, I can't believe I didn't remember that. Yeah, like Scott Lang's daughter, because they did it with Rhodey. They had a second actor come in as Rhodey, and then he was revealed as a Skrull. And now they could have a second actor.
Yeah.
It was Emma Furman, and now it's Catherine Newton. So maybe that she'll be revealed as a Skrull out there somewhere. Trying to keep close
Hmm.
to Hank Pym, trying to keep close to Scott Lang, and doing all those things. And then that may lead into something with the Young Avengers where she joins that team where we all know she's a Skrull, but they don't yet.
Or
Yes, and
maybe Mobius M. Mobius is a brainwashed scroll and doesn't know he is.
ooh, that would be good. But yes, Fatherly Fandom, I'm with you. I think the way Sharon Carter behaved in that post-credit scene, and oh, you know what? Sharon Carter could be the post-credit scene reveal leading into Armor Wars
Oh,
because
that makes some sense.
I'm assuming that the real Rhodey is going to be back for Armor Wars, and he's going to be going after because there's got to be. We know the government has Stark Tech, and we know that there's Skrulls in the government, and one of them could be Sharon Carter passing it out to different Skrull sets, And then maybe Armor Wars is Rhodey trying to get it all back. So Skrulls could play into Armor Wars. So it may be something setting up Armor Wars with Sharon Carter and the real Rhodey.
Yeah,
And yes, that would tie it all together, sir.
I agree. Yes, which it needs. It sorely needs something to kind of make all of this start to work and make a little bit more sense and offer up something for the amount of money that they put into this.
Yeah, they've only spent $3 million up to now, and the last episode is going to be $209 million. Right. So it is going to.
It better be a banger of an episode. I better be sitting on the edge of my seat, like, oh my god, I can't believe they're revealing this. Oh wow, I didn't see that coming. I'm just saying, if that is not how next Wednesday is going to go, I will be very disappointed.
And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.